pleasure I have to bring this dynamic duo to the show, Asoniti Foster and Wanda Whitaker, both individuals who are right in there talking about ways in which we can improve our health, our mental health, and all the things that we're doing, need to be doing. So welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you for having us.
So I'll start with you, Asoniti. Can you tell us about your background and the work that you do?
Yes, so I am the founder of Puzzle 2020, and I specialize in mental wellness and Alzheimer's advocacy.
Wonderful. And Wanda?
I am a visionary artist, a certified hypnotherapist, and a transformational coach.
Wonderful. Now, how does all this tie into, uh, as you said, Alzheimer's or dementia? I mean, this is a growing well, I say it's growing because we're hearing so much more about it now that we have the what is it, the silver alerts and all the things that bring our attention to what's happening with our seniors. But how is it you all kind of stepped into this space and got involved?
For me,
Uh,
it started out very personal. Like most people who are advocates of Alzheimer's, it's personal. My grandmother's died, a plethora of great aunts and uncles, and my grandfather was recently diagnosed within 2020, and I'm his caregiver. So I grew up with Alzheimer's. And at the time, it was just like, oh, they're old, right? This is natural. This is what's supposed to happen. And then one day I received a call from a cousin of mine asking me if I would help him with his mom, who was my grandmother's sister. She has Alzheimer's. I'm like, last time I saw her, she was fine. But she definitely had Alzheimer's. And I loved spending time with her. Like something about that was magical, like at that
Mm-hmm.
moment. But it also was a time to like, the more she repeated herself, the more I kept listening, and I was like, oh my God, I can have this, right? Because it's in my family tree. It's rooted in
Yeah.
my DNA, right? So I could definitely have, this could pass on to my daughter. Like this can continue to keep going. And so for me, it was like, oh, no, 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 no. Let me research this and let me see what's going on with this disease. And what I discovered was that women were more likely to have it than men. African American women are twice as likely to have it than the national average. And yes, I can get Alzheimer's, but hereditary is a risk factor. It's not the risk factor. So from discovering just now this wealth of information that I had to go find myself, right? They're not teaching us this. They're not really talking about this. It was like, well, I got to do something about this because we really need to be talking about this in the community and culture. We are the ones most affected. And so I decided to do a documentary on Alzheimer's titled Puzzled, because this is such a puzzling disease. And the focus is definitely on African American women, but I'm also telling it from a youthful point of view with incorporating my daughter. Because what people need to realize the most about this disease is that by the time you've been diagnosed over the age of 65, you really started that track 20, 30 years prior, medically proven. So why are we talking about this when we retire?
Wow. Interesting. And Wanda, how do you loop into this?
well, I am a mental health specialist. I started my practice a while back because I wanted to really help people heal themselves by themselves. And I really started on this track of knowing who I am, why am I here. And once I started studying that and answering those questions, I said, well, what do I really want to do in life? And I wanted to help people heal themselves. And so that's how I started with this hypnosis and my practice. And what I found out from there is how hypnotherapy can help people throughout life with mental illness and specifically even Alzheimer's, because it relaxes the mind, it eliminates stress. It also changes programming and helps with trauma. All of those types of things have a lot to do with our physical health. So, mental health, they say our body speaks our subconscious mind. And so when something is hurting the body is telling you something. Memory is one of those things that affects almost every part of our body, because you've heard of the saying, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Well, the brain is also in your heart and also in your gut because of the nervous system. They found out that basically the memory extends into your heart and also your gut. That's what people say, I had a gut feeling that I shouldn't do this or shouldn't do that. And that is because there are these peptides that are on top of the neurons that are always communicating with each other. And that's why sometimes when you have like people sometimes have heart transplants. And when they have a heart transplant from another person, they take on that personality of that donor because of the memory of the cells. So with hypnosis and meditating, calming down your brain, so that you can go into the subconscious mind to change the programming, is one of the ways that we can help heal ourselves. And it's easy
Interesting.
to do.
Yeah, no, that's really really interesting because I'm not sure how Asante is really processing this as well, but you all have connected. And Asante, you talk about, of course, Puzzle 2020, and then the sandwich giver, which I kind of want to know what that's all about, and then the gratitude bank. I mean, you all have put together some unique concepts to address this issue. So can I go back to you, Asante, and really find out what these are?
Absolutely. So, in discovering that you can be on the Alzheimer's track in your 20s or 30s, for me, I looked at it like, okay, we're getting ahead of how Alzheimer's. Like, let's completely derail this. We're talking about mental health, which is great. Therapy is great. Medication, if you need it, and that's your, level of cocktail for you, great. But what about those of us who don't have those or can't afford those or don't have real medical coverage, right? What are we left with? Even people who actually go to therapy, you're only with that therapist, what, 1 hour once a week at the most? Yes, you vent everything and you have this esoteric conversation about, your venting and what's going on in life. You dump all of that, but okay, that was on Monday. It's Wednesday, and this has crept back up because I'm still experiencing it. Right? It's still within me until it's not. And so for me, it was important to say, okay, well, what can you do that's effective, easy, and affordable? And that's when my daughter and I created the gratitude bank. And it definitely first started with us. We were definitely on an Alzheimer's track, trauma, financial hardships, the pandemic hit. Now stress, depression, anxiety is with us. And when I saw us sinking in our household, I was like, let me Google mental happiness because we cannot go out like this. And that's when I discovered that writing down what you're grateful for, even if it's just one word, one positive word, whatever it is that you're grateful for, significantly reduces stress, depression, anxiety. Well, who suffers the most from those things? Right?
Yeah,
Us.
yeah.
And so I was like, no way, this can't be real. Because if it was, we would be talking about it, right? Yeah, right. So practiced it with my daughter about, let's say 30 days because it's slow, right? You have to get into the habit of doing this.
Hmm.
And we really saw a difference in everything about us.
So what were you doing? Were you just taking like little notes or something and putting it into a bank, or how did it work?
So
Explain that to me.
this is the gratitude bank here.
Okay.
And this is one style we have. I don't know if you can see this.
Okay.
And I am grateful for it. It has these cards right here.
Okay.
Each of them say I'm grateful for. And then it comes with this pen with a stylus. And I tell people use these like medication, right? When you pop in a pill, it's 60 in here, right? You got a 60-day supply. Or you can,
Right.
take it as how
Hmm.
often you want, but just write down something. And once you write it down on here, you fold it and then you place it into the slit in the lid. And then we didn't want to stop there, right? Because now we're like, okay, this is working. We want optimal mental support from the comfort of your home. And
Hmm.
that's when we applied meditation music to this, because that helps with, centering the mind, calming you down, lifting your spirits, and still you're able to have a functioning day.
Wow. Wow. And Wanda, I mean, this seems like it feeds right into uh, one sort of getting you through hypnotherapy to kind of get you into that place and space, because sometimes we don't even know what a gratitude is. A feeling, right? It's not just a word. It's a feeling. And so it seems like your hypnotherapy kind of puts you in that place where you can actually understand what you're looking to feel. you know
Oh, absolutely.
is that tell me if I'm right or wrong, I don't know.
Well, yes, you are right about that. Again, with hypnosis, which means to sleep in Greek,
Hmm.
that's what it means to sleep. It involves slowing down the brain waves in your mind. When you're sleeping, they call that delta. And then just before you go to sleep is a stage called theta, where you're kind of falling into sleep. And then there's alpha, which is still a meditative state. You cannot start changing the programming in your subconscious mind, which is running you about 95% of the time. That's what's running you. That's like when you drive in a car and you miss your exit to the freeway. Well, who's driving that car? Or you're reading a great book and somebody asks you to do something. You don't hear them because you're into that book where it's being run by your subconscious mind. Just like you don't ask your heart to beat, right? But it beats. You don't ask your cells to divide, but they do. They reproduce.
Right.
So there is some information that's going on that's within you that's helping you do that. A lot has to do with your nervous system. Okay, so we go back to physiology when we talk about hypnosis. But once you slow down those brain waves, then you can have entrance into the subconscious mind where all the programming, the data is there. It's like a computer that's running. And when you change that programming, because a lot affects you from your childhood, especially from the ages of 0 to 7, what's in your environment, what your mother is saying to you, all of that is being stored there. If your dad is coming home drunk and beating your mom, all that information is
It's
stored there. So, how can you change that? The
right.
only way you can change it is through that. And we have suggestions that we put into the subconscious mind, positive suggestions to change the negative ones that are helping you have the uh, limited beliefs that are causing you to have certain kinds of behavior.
Ladies, I really, really wish we had time to really just kind of explore all of this, because it does sound very helpful. It's intriguing. And, just the conversation is mind settling. So I think that's great. Asante, what can you share with us about, the Gratitude Bank, or how folks can get in touch with you if they want to know more about what you're offering? And I want to ask you the same thing, Wanda.
So I can be found on social media at Puzzle 2020. That's Facebook and Instagram. Our website is puzzle2020.com. You can go to our shop and you'll be able to purchase our gratitude banks. That was one style of bank that we have, but we do have different, another color and another style. And then also on our website we also provide resources, right, for mental wellness and Alzheimer's. We didn't want people to just come on our page, on our site, and the first thing that pops up is a donation. Not knocking people who do that, but when you are a sandwich caregiver like myself and you start wanting to find information, I'm not looking to donate right now. I'll come back to you, but right now I need to figure out what this is. There's always a state of emergency for us. So
Hmm.
we are your, one-stop shop to calm down. We got you. We looking out. Here's some resources and here's some tools.
Fantastic. And now, because I asked you about the sandwich giver, and you just explained it. You've got a young daughter, and you're taking care of older folks, your mom or
My
your
grandfather.
grandfather. Right,
Right.
exactly. So you're right there in the middle, the
Yes.
sandwich getter. I give her. I get it.
Sandwich caregiver.
Right, right. Okay, caregiver. That's the word we're missing. Thank you. Wanda, what about you?
You can reach me. You can go to my website at www.anchoredinspirit.com. And of course, my email address is anchoredinspirit@gmail.com. If you go to the website, there's a lot of information there. Also, you can download a free meditation. It's a chakra meditation. And I'm going to go back to the meditation that is on the gratitude bank. It's at 432 hertz. And 432 hertz is called the frequency of the universe. And that's where you can become very stable mentally, and it creates balance. And researchers have determined that that is the hertz of the heart.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So listen to
Interesting.
some Mozart music too. That
All
also.
righty. Well, thank you so much for being with us today and for giving us some things to think about as it relates both to aging and to mental health. We really appreciate the work that you all are doing and how you're trying to support members of our community. I think we want to show one last thing, Ashanti, before we leave, but I want to thank you all for being with us.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Okay.